I didn't realize my daughter-in-law had planned my future until I overheard her on the phone, standing in my own kitchen, casually deciding where I would spend the rest of my life. She wasn't whispering. She wasn't hiding. She spoke the way people do when they believe the person they're talking about no longer matters. I stood still with a dish towel in my hands, listening as she laughed softly and said, "It's already decided. A nice facility, quiet, clean, 3 meals a day. She won't need the house anymore." In that moment, something inside me went completely still. Not angry, not scared, just cold and clear. Because the house she was talking about wasn't just a building. It was my life. I had lived in that house for 42 years. I raised my son there. I buried my husband from there. Every floorboard knew my footsteps. Every window had watched me age. When my son asked if he and his wife could move in temporarily, after his job transfer, I didn't hesitate. That's what mothers do. We make room. We adjust. We believe love is enough protection. At first it was small things. The way my dishes were slowly replaced with theirs. The way my chair at the table became too close to the window. The way decisions were discussed around me instead of with me. I told myself it was normal. Young couples need space. I told myself to be patient. Then came the comments. Gentle at first, disguised as concern. "You shouldn't be climbing the stairs anymore. That room is too big for you. Wouldn't it be easier if someone else handled things?" Every sentence wrapped in a smile. Every suggestion delivered like a favor. My son watched it happen. Sometimes he defended me. Sometimes he stayed quiet. Silence can be louder than cruelty. The day I heard the words nursing home spoken aloud for the first time, I didn't confront her. I didn't cry. I finished washing the dishes. I folded the towel. I walked to my room and sat on my bed, staring at the walls that still held my wedding photos. I realized something important then. They didn't see me as a person anymore. I had become a problem to be solved. A week later she handed me brochures. Glossy pages. Smiling senior. Sunlit courtyards. She spoke slowly, like you do to someone fragile. "We just want what's best for you." She didn't ask what I wanted. She didn't need to. In her mind the decision was already made. I nodded. That surprised her. My silence made her confident. Confidence makes people careless. They didn't know that the house wasn't just my home. It was my name, my work, my signature. My husband had insisted years ago that everything be placed in my control after watching his own parents lose everything to helpful relatives. I remembered his voice clearly the night he signed the documents. "One day you may need this protection." I never imagined I'd need it from my own child. They began talking openly after that. Renovations. Selling furniture. Changing locks. My daughter-in-law walked through rooms pointing at walls like a queen surveying conquered land. My son avoided my eyes. Avoidance is easier than guilt. I started writing things down. Dates. Words. Who said what? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I became invisible on purpose. People reveal everything when they think you've surrendered. The night she told my son that I was becoming forgetful was the night I stopped feeling like his mother and started thinking like a woman protecting her survival. Forgetful. The word was chosen carefully. It planted a seed. One that could grow into control. I went through my files quietly. Old folders. Old keys. Documents I hadn't touched in years. Everything was exactly where I left it. Because while they were busy planning my exit, they forgot one thing. I was the one who built the foundation they were standing on. The house was still legally mine. Every inch of it. And more than that, there were conditions written into ownership that neither of them had bothered to read. Conditions my husband insisted on. Conditions designed for exactly this kind of betrayal. The morning she scheduled a tour of the facility without telling me, I made a phone call of my own. Calmly. Clearly. No drama. Just facts. When she returned that afternoon, cheerful and victorious, she found me sitting at the kitchen table. Not packing. Not crying. Just waiting. She smiled like someone who believes the ending is already written. That smile would not last. She noticed the envelope first. Thick. Official. Sitting between us on the table. Her smile paused just for a second. People always sense when control starts slipping. What's that? She asked lightly, as if she still owned the room. I didn't answer right away. I looked at my son instead. He looked tired, cornered, like a boy who knew something heavy was about to fall. It's information, I said finally. About the house. She laughed softly. You don't need to worry about that anymore. We're handling. No. Y interrupta. Gently. My voice didn't shake. That surprised all of us. You're not. I slid the envelope toward her. She opened it with confidence. That confidence cracked as she read. Her fingers slowed. Her lips pressed together. She read it again. Then again. Papers have a way of speaking when people lie. The house was not transferable without my written consent. Any attempt to sell, lease, or relocate me without legal approval triggered an automatic review. And the final detail, the one my husband had insisted on late one night while sipping coffee in this very kitchen, stated clearly that if coercion or misrepresentation was proven, residency privileges could be revoked immediately. Her face drained of color. This isn't, she started. It is, I said. And it's enforceable. My son finally spoke. You were planning to move her without telling me? His voice was quiet, but it carried weight. That's the thing about truth. Once it enters a room, it rearranges everything. She turned to him, fast, defensive, angry. Words spilled out. Justifications. Fear dressed up as concern. Complaints about space. About money. About inconvenience. She didn't realize she was confessing. I listened. Calmly. When she finished, I stood up. My knees ached, but my spine didn't bend. I am not going anywhere, I said. This is my home. You are welcome here as long as you respect that. If not, you will need to make other arrangements. The silence that followed was different from before. This one had weight. Consequences. That night, my son slept on the couch. She stayed in their room with the door closed. I slept deeply for the first time in months. The next weeks were uncomfortable. Tense. Real. She avoided me. My son started asking questions. About finances. About plans. About things he should have asked long ago. The truth came out slowly. Debts. Pressure. Fear of instability. None of it excused what she had tried to do. But it explained why she thought she could. Eventually they moved. Not dramatically. No shouting. Just boxes. A rented truck. Quiet footsteps leaving the house they thought they'd claimed. When the door closed behind them, I didn't celebrate. I walked through the rooms instead. Touched the walls. Opened the windows. Let the house breathe again. I kept the guest room ready. Not out of weakness. Out of choice. Boundaries don't mean bitterness. They mean clarity. Months later, my son visits alone sometimes. We drink coffee. We talk honestly now. About mistakes. About fear. About respect. He looks at me differently. Like someone who finally understands that his mother isn't fragile glass. She's foundation. I tell this story because there are women watching who feel themselves shrinking inside homes they paid for, lives they built, families they sacrificed for. If that's you, listen closely. Age does not erase ownership. Love does not require surrender. And silence does not mean permission. Sometimes the strongest move isn't shouting, or fighting, or proving anything at all. Sometimes strength is a woman sitting calmly at her own table, letting the truth speak for her. If this story made you feel seen, press like. If it made you feel brave, stay. There are more stories where this came from.